Hello, good evening, and welcome to Monkeys with Fire. How's everybody tonight? Hope you're all well. Hope you're getting ready for the weekend. So then, as we get ever so closer to the end of the month and of course the spooky season event, Halloween, we're going to start taking a look at some horror themed games. And I couldn't think of any better place to start than, of course, taking a look at Call of Cthulhu from Chaosium Inc. This evening we are going to unbox the starter set. My thanks, of course, to Chaosium Inc. for providing a copy of the Call of Cthulhu starter set for us to take a look at tonight. This is something I've been looking forward to for a long time, so I'm delighted to be able to share it with you all this evening. All right, as we go through this, there will be the need to call up the spoilers. We will touch on some elements that if you are intending to play the contents within the starter set, you might want to tune out at that point. But I will definitely put up the screen just to give you a fair warning. Okay, let's jump to the table and take a look. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start off with a quick conclusion. This has got to be probably the best starter set I have experienced to date. It contains absolutely everything you need to get started within the Call of Cthulhu role-playing world. It presents it in a perfect manner for both new players and new GMs, or keepers in this case. And the price point of this starter set is incredibly affordable, which is perfect for somebody who wants to try out a brand new system, not quite sure if it's for them, and they've not had to pay a huge amount of money to do so. So, right off the bat, I give this 2 thumbs up because it is brilliant. But let's go through to on tonight's show and let me show you the contents, and hopefully you'll come to the same conclusion. Good evening, Roger. How are you? We're just about to take off the lid of Call of Cthulhu starter set. I mean, I guess we're going to start somewhere. Are you familiar with Call of Cthulhu, of the works of H.P. Lovecraft? I guess by this point now, most people who enjoy tabletop gaming of one sort or another must have heard of H.P. Lovecraft. It's hard not to, isn't it? With the number of board games and card games, and of course the role-playing game, to which this starter set is in fact the 40th anniversary edition. And in fact it's even older than that by now. So it's been around for a long time. I was actually talking to a colleague this morning about my first introduction to Call of Cthulhu. It was an old issue, a very early issue of White Dwarf magazine, when White Dwarf used to cover games from all publishers, not just the products that they did as part of Games Workshop. And it had a very striking cover. I remember seeing it and thinking, wow, that's quite horrific for a front cover of a magazine. It was the lobby area of a potential mansion of madness, with this black and white tiled floor. There was a large sweeping staircase in the background, and there was a man and a woman, dressed of course in that 1920s style, and in front of them was this amalgamation of flesh with face and ears and arms protruding all across its kind of pancake form on this floor. It was quite horrific. But of course, as a younger lad, I thought this was brilliant. But the game itself was far beyond me. It was not what I was into at that time. I wish I had held on to those early issues, because they would be quite something to take a look at now. So you're aware a little bit, but you've never played Cthulhu. Okay, well, this could be the perfect starting point for you. So let's open up the box and take a look. What's in the box? What's in the box? So we start off with a sheet here, and basically it's telling us what we're going to have. We've got book 1, book 2, and book 3. We have a collection of 5 ready-made investigators. We have several blank investigator sheets. We've got a collection of role-playing dice and a collection of player handouts. And then we do have this disclaimer, read me first. So we are supposed to do things in order. We're supposed to go through book 1. And I'll give you the basic summary here. We'll take part in a starter solo adventure called Alone Against the Flames, in which your character alone must navigate through a strange mystery. As you play through this solo adventure, you'll be guided through creating an investigator character. So we can use one of the blank investigator sheets, or we can use one of the ready-made sheets. Once we've completed that, we move on to book 2, where we will be presented with the starter rules. And then, once we have a reasonable understanding of how the game plays, we move on to book 3. And book 3 is a collection of adventures for beginner players and a beginner keeper. So, right away, this is a starter set that is curated specifically for new players. And I know that sounds sounds a bit daft, because isn't that the point of starter sets? But this one really is written with the new player and new keeper in mind. And other starter sets that I've seen, they're essentially an abridged version of the rules that you get in the core book. But this is, bespoke writing for new players, or that's what it seems to be to me. And that being the case, that's great. That really is good. So let's dive on in and take a better look. We've got some dice, as it indicated. These are fine. You can get some really nice themed Cthulhu dice if you wanted to put those into your collection, but it's always handy to have new dice. And as it said, we start with book 1, Alone Against the Flames. Now, because this is the 40th anniversary edition, all of the content has been updated. So any rules, etc., has been applied. I believe we do have a brand new art to the cover and to the covers of these books. These are simple stapled books. I guess, given the incredibly low price point of this starter set, that this is what we would expect from it. So we can dive on in here. It gives us a little bit of an overview of the game of Call of Cthulhu, and a little bit of an introduction, of course, to role-playing as a whole. Telling us about dice, and this is a percentage dice system. So we'll be using 2 D10s, one that is numbered 10 to 00, and the other dice which is numbered 0 to 9. And we roll them together, and that gives us a number from 1 all the way up to 100. And ultimately, we'll come to the rules in the next book, but what we're trying to do is roll under. Whatever our score is in a particular skill or attribute, we roll under, then we're going to get some level of success. But we'll go into a little bit more detail as we explore. And it gives us a little bit of example of play, so we get an idea. Throughout these books, the artwork, absolutely fantastic. And I guess one thing that I've found about these the Call of Cthulhu books is that it's artwork that you understand, because we've looked at games back in the past, in fantasy kingdoms, in the future, in sci-fi. But the 1920s to 1930s, we can relate to that. It's pretty close. We know what an investigator looks like. We know what, cars of the era look like. It's set in an area of, is it northeast United States? So it's in the Boston, Massachusetts area, New England. So we've got some understanding. It's a really easy game to put yourself into the shoes of the characters that you create, even though what they are facing is definitely not relatable. Not relatable at all. So as it promised, we had a little bit of intro, as you can see, and as it says here, you understand the basic premise of Call of Cthulhu. Now we take our first adventure, Alone Against the Flames, a horror story set in the 1920s, where you are the main character and your choices determine the outcome. It is designed to lead you through the basic rules of the game in a gradual and entertaining fashion. Although most such adventures are played with your friends, this one is just for you. Don't worry, there may still be things you don't fully understand yet. The rules are explained as you play through the game. You'll even be shown how to create your own investigator. So this is great. I can't believe that other games don't take this kind of approach to introducing new players to their system. Because we all kind of understand a choose-your-own-adventure. We read the text within the number that we're in. Read text 1, go to pay to 263, and we just jump on through. Read the next bit, and then we have in the italics. It starts to tell us a little bit about how we can look at our investigator. So for this one, look at your investigator sheet. At the top, you have spaces for 8 characteristics: strength, constitution, power, dexterity, appearance, size, intelligence, and education. Allocate the following values among them, writing them down in the large squares beside each. We probably should be looking at one of the character sheets, shouldn't we? Make help us here. So what do we have? We have a 40, a 50, a 50, a 50, a 60, a 60, a 70, and 80. And if you would like more information about what these characteristics mean, read page 7 of book 2, and then turn to section 8. Now, I know that this is one of the ways to create a character, and in fact, the game does suggest that there are multiple ways of creating your character. And in fact, we'll take a look at that in a little bit more detail when we take a look at the Call of Cthulhu Keeper guide that we'll be taking a look at in a couple of shows' time. But this is a quick way of a brand new player creating a character. Let's actually skip ahead a little bit because our curiosity is getting the better of us. Let's take a look at a character sheet. Because I always find that if you create a character, that is one of the easiest ways of getting to know a game. So we've got a load of handouts. And we have some character sheets. So we've got some nice pre-generated ones here. And as it said, we do also have some blank sheets that we can create bespoke characters with. Again, this is something that is a little bit unique. Typically in the starter sets we've taken a look at, you only get pre-generated characters. So the fact of it's giving you some of the tools to create your own right off the bat, that's great. So off we go. Lois Russo. She is an engineering student from New York who is currently residing in Arkham. And as we already seen, we've got strength, constitution, dexterity, intelligence, size, power, appearance, and education. And we have the scores in there. And you will see that in this character sheet, we have regular, we have half, and we have a fifth. There is a chart, and it does explain what that is all about, and we'll come to that in due course. We have a whole variety of skills. What does she have? She has charm and climb, dodge, drive auto, electric repair, fast talking, brawling. Oh, don't want to mess with her. Rifles and shotguns. First aid, intimidate. She can speak Italian and English. She's good at the library. She listens. She can do locksmithing, mechanical repair. She knows a little bit about the occult. She's got a little bit of knowledge of psychology. Bit of sleight of hand and spot hidden. Bit of stealth. She can swim and throw and track. Wow, she can do everything. Here we go. Nevada Jones, an archaeology professor. Comes from Winnipeg, Canada. Again, residing in Arkham. See, that's kind of cool. We can bring in some of our popular characters from other fiction, can't we? Yes, Indiana. So now, because it's a percentage-based system, it's really, really easy to determine if your character's good at something. So Nevada Jones has got a 70 in archaeology. The average, of course, is 50. So he is definitely on the higher side, getting to be pretty good at archaeology. But what else can he do? He can do psychology. He can read Latin. He's good at brawling and at firearms. He's good at the occult. He can spot hidden. And he's good at charming. Yes, that sounds like Indiana. We have Wentworth Avery, a languages professor. This is something else that I've noticed with Call of Cthulhu. We're getting a good range of ages in this game because, as it says on the box, oh, it's not that part of the box I want to highlight. It does say, oh, hang on, a world of mystery, horror, and adventure. And mystery really is the key phrase here. Because it does give words of warning that it's not all about combat. It's about actually uncovering the mystery and hopefully using your intelligence more than your brawn to get you out of the situation you may find yourself in and help those around you. So, as much as we do have fighting and handguns and shotguns, and that might be fine with maybe some of the younger characters, an older character is not necessarily going to be good as fighting, but their intelligence, their education, so as you can see, his education is up to 80 as a languages professor. So in fact, his English is 80. He's got Latin, Greek, and Egyptian hieroglyphs. So he's got 70 on Latin, 50 on Egyptian, 40 on Greek. What else is he good at? He's got a little bit of knowledge in archaeology. One thing I haven't looked at is on the back of a character sheet, we get a little bit of the backstory, what their ideology and beliefs are, significant people to them. We specify a meaningful location, trusted possessions, and a few traits. And these kind of help the player roleplay the character. So you can have some fun with that. Of course, these are pre-generated. We have Jesse Williams, a history student. What's Jesse good at? Constitution is quite high. Good at history. That makes sense. And Keiko Kane, a science student. So we seem to have multiple students, an English, a languages professor, and an archaeologist. And so she's going to be particularly good again in education. And it's going to be more in the sciences, isn't it? Do we have a 70 or an 80? 60 in stealth. 70 in biology. See, again, this is something that's quite cool. You have this section for science, and you can write down multiple disciplines of science. So maybe she could have put on in chemistry instead, or maybe physics. Maybe she could have multiple sciences. It is a broad descriptor, isn't it? I'm thinking maybe at some point we should take a time to create a character live on the show. Leave a comment in the chat or in video comments if you think that's a good idea, or you want to join on in and create a character live. I think that could be good fun. So ultimately, this first book essentially guides us through these steps on creating a character and gives us opportunity to use some of the skills that we will have put in place and gives us an idea of actually playing out a little adventure. This is really cool. I like this. Again, as I say, I don't think I have seen anything like this on other starter sets. And it's just a simple way to introduce new players to a game system. So that is great. Roger, you think it would be neat to create a character together on stream? Yeah, absolutely. Well, then let's do it. It will be in a couple of weeks' time. We've got a few other things to look at from the world of Call of Cthulhu. So we'll do those first. And then, yes, we will cycle on back and we'll create some characters. So hopefully, looking through these will get you thinking of the type of character you might want to create. But you do need to make sure you've got some D10s so that you can roll up your attributes. Okay, so we've played our solo game, and we've effectively created a character. We then jump into Book 2, which is the introductory rules. And so, again, brief summary of what is Call of Cthulhu, telling the reader, well, what are the player roles? What is the concept of the game? A little bit about the Cthulhu mythos, if you are not familiar. And of course, I suppose, for those who are not, so Call of Cthulhu takes its premise from the stories of an early 20th century writer called Howard Philip Lovecraft, whose stories centered on a dark philosophy of an uncaring cosmos in which, unbeknown to humanity, strange alien and godlike beings rule. These concepts were popular enough to inspire generations of writers who would go on to develop and expand what is known as cosmic horror within the structures created by Lovecraft, the Cthulhu mythos. You can get an idea from this amazing artwork. Damn those cultists! They're always releasing things from their books or their altars or their caskets. There's always something. So here we go. Adventures in Call of Cthulhu usually center on a mystery, with the investigators called in to help uncover the truth of the situation. Often the mystery has been caused by the criminal wrongdoings of a crazed worshipper or a cult in the service of the gods of the Cthulhu mythos. The investigator's job is to find clues, with each clue bringing to light another avenue for research or exploration. As the investigators gather clues, their knowledge of the situation grows until they can identify the person or cause of the original wrongdoing, which in turn may lead to some form of final confrontation or challenge. It is the player's job, in the guise of their investigators, to unravel the mystery and decide upon the way to resolve the situation and ensure those responsible are brought to justice or dealt with. So it's a great concept. It really is. It's very enjoyable. As I say, I've played Cthulhu-based games in other areas. Some card games, definitely a board game, Mansions of Madness. Played that many times, which is a lot of fun. Typically, characters lose their sanity as they wander through, and of course, these are features taken from the role-playing game and, of course, the books. So it is now guiding us through, yet again, creating an investigator, but going into more detail now so we can understand more about the actual rules of the game. So we have our half and fifth characteristic values, which were detailed on the sheets. We have, and it does tell us that there is a reference chart. I think it's at the back here. There we go. So this is a nice, easy way for us to be able to work out our half and fifth values. And in fact, the digital version of the character sheet, the PDF, has all of that built in. So once you type in your base number, it will automatically work out what your half and fifth is. So the PDF is a really great tool to have. So if we do it, grab yourself a PDF. That's the way forward for sure. Secondary attributes. We have damage bonus and build, hit points, move rates, and sanity and magic points. Goes through adding those. And then a little bit about occupation and skills. And we got some examples with the pre-gen characters. Well, we've got a few more here. So an antiquarian. It's somebody who deals with antiques. That's what I know. We got an author. Is it a dilettante? See, I thought it was like debutante, but dilettante. I've researched it. It's somebody who basically has a little bit of money, has a lot of money, likes the idea of learning about something, but never quite really invests lots of time. Maybe a little bit more of like a socialite, I guess, is how I sort of envisage that character type. A doctor of medicine, a journalist, police detective, private investigator, or a professor. So there's a few there. Now, of course, in the main game, there's a lot more. But this is just the starter set. The fact that it gives you these additional investigator occupations and to be able to create your own, yeah, that's great. We got all the different skills and their descriptions. We were looking before. Archaeology allows dating and identification of artifacts from the past cultures and the detection of fakes. Or how about library use? Find a piece of information such as a certain book, newspaper, reference in a library, or a collection of documents, assuming the information is there to be found. Use of this skill marks several hours of continuous search. Because of course, this is searching in an old library in the 1920s, real books and newspaper archives, all having to be done non-digital. We then have a section about creating our backstory. Again, we can always refer back to the pre-gen characters to get some inspiration. And then adding our final touches. And it does say that by using the downloadable PDF sheet, you can click on the portrait space to add an image, and just already tell us about the Call of Cthulhu Keeper rulebook, which is something that we will be taking a look at. So it's giving us a good amount of information here, and then telling us this is the next step to be able to add to it. So what do we have? We then go into the game system and skill rolls. And ultimately, a regular task requires a roll of equal or less than your skill value on a D100, and that gives you a regular success. A difficult task requires a roll equal or less than your hard skill value, and a task approaching the limits of human capability requires a roll equal to or less than 1/5 of your skill value, which is an extreme success. Let's take a look at Nevada Jones and just put that into some idea. So here we go. We'll take a look at Nevada's archaeology. So to get if we were rolling our dice, if we got more than 70 on a D100, that would be a fail. 70 or less is a regular success. If we get 35 or less, then that is a hard success. And 14 or less is an extreme success, which is the absolute best that you can achieve. Of course, as we create characters, if we increased this base number to a higher value, it will mean that our half and our fifth will be increased as well, giving us more margin to be able to get those really low results, and that's what we're looking for. And that's how easy it is. The character sheet might look complicated, but in fact, it's really, really simple when you understand how it's all broken down and for when you're actually playing. So we do have bonus and penalty dice depending on the conditions we find our characters in, and this works much like it does in other games. If we are getting a bonus, we get to roll, I'm just going to make sure I get this right, we get an additional 10s percentage dice. So we will roll 2 10s and a units dice, and we take the higher of the 10s, the lower of the 10s values, because of course that's what we want to get under our score. If it's a penalty dice, then we take the higher of the 2 10s dice that we have to roll. Got to make sure I get that one right. A lot of the games that we've looked at, we're always trying to roll higher, aren't we? This is a roll under system. We got a page on sanity, because whenever our investigator encounters the horrors of the Cthulhu mythos or comes across something mundane yet horrific, such as stumbling across a friend's mutilated corpse. You see? 3 lines in, and already you know this is the type of game you want to play. So you can potentially lose your mind, and there is a sanity roll depending on what you are encountering, and you will lose points of sanity as you play. And then we end up with sample phobias and manias. There are hundreds of possible phobias and manias. Here's a few possibilities. Oh my goodness. Fear of heights, fear of books, fear of blood, fear of death, fear of telephones. Have you ever encountered a fear of telephones, Roger? Manias, an obsession with pain, an obsession to see justice done, an irrational compulsion to shout, Classomania. See, I know irrational compulsion for stealing, kleptomania. I know that one. But irrational cheerfulness. Amenomania. Is a new one to you. There's a fear of telephones, a fear of books, fear of mirrors, fear of teeth, a fear of strangers or foreigners. That's one I'm certainly aware of. And of course, I'm definitely aware of arachnophobia. We'll move away from that one as quickly as possible. We then have a bouts of madness table, where we may have a bout of violence or paranoia. And then we go into an insanity summary. You guessed the librarian doesn't need the fear of books. No, it would make going to work incredibly difficult. We've got brief rules on combat, both close combat and firearms rules. But again, I find this interesting. When you are confronted with the horrors of the Cthulhu mythos, it is generally a better idea to run away or avoid confrontation altogether, as such entities are very powerful and often resistant to bullets. However, sometimes there is no other choice than to go in guns blazing and make the best of it. Or give them a good old punch. Punch to the chops. So, the game is very much focused towards the investigative side, uncovering the mystery. I like that. We got a summary then on hit points, wounds and healing. And pretty much that's it. Gives us our next steps. So it does suggest the Call of Cthulhu Keeper Rulebook, the Investigator Handbook, the Keeper Screen Pack, and then Doors to Darkness, an award-winning collection of 5 introductory adventurers for beginning keepers and players, each designed to help guide those new to the game. So we will be taking a look at some of these next step suggestions in upcoming shows. Before we conclude the contents, we do have Book 3, Paper, Chase and Other Adventures. So this is the point. I'm going to put the spoilers on, because these are actual adventures. If you are intending to play, then you might not want to see these parts. This is purely for your keeper to take a look at. But if you're happy to have some things may be spoiled or see something you shouldn't see, then stay watching. Alright, let's take a look. So, what have we got? Get an introduction. So we've got 3 adventures. Paper Chase, Edge of Darkness, Dead Man's Stomp. Bit of an introduction, which guides us through, tells us about each of the... Or is this just giving us the introduction for Paper Chase? Paper Chase is designed for just 1 player. The short premise gives the player an idea about what the scenario will be about, allowing them to choose or create an appropriate investigator. Okay, so we have our ready-made investigators that we've already taken a look at. Scenario 1. We get a little summary. Actually, I found this was actually pretty good. Again, this is where these adventures are geared up for new players, new keepers, and really does guide newbies through the process. So, this particular adventure, the investigator is asked to solve a simple burglary and a missing persons case while in town. This scenario is designed to be played with a keeper and 1 player, although it can accommodate up to 2 investigators. The scenario takes place in 1922 and should take 1 session between 2 to 4 hours to play. We get some background information for the keeper, some player information, and then we have a section on the start. So, with the task explained to the investigators, they are ready to dig into the mystery of the missing uncle and his stolen books. And it suggests places that the player can actually start looking. And each of these relates to a section, to which then these are broken down into some notes for the keeper. If there are certain skill rolls that are required, then it clearly identifies those. As with any adventure, it's good for the GM, the keeper, to give a good read through all the material so that they've got a good understanding of how the actual adventure plays out in its entirety. You don't need to memorize it all, but have a good idea of the flow. And have, of course, the book's going to be there with you so that you can move from section to section with ease. And we get our conclusion. And we do have various characters and monsters that we may encounter in this particular adventure. And already we're on to Scenario 2, Edge of Darkness. And it follows the same format, and in fact something that we'll be looking at next week is one of their, well, a brand new adventure scenario release, and it's the same format. So once you've gone through this, you're going to understand all the other scenario books, which is very, very handy. We do have images of the handouts that are in the starter set. I'll mention those in a bit as we take a look through. But as you can see, there's quite a lot to this particular adventure. Rituals, conclusions, various monsters, and then we have our final adventure. I think this is set in New York, in Harlem. The Roaring 20s. And I think we just come to an end. And here we go, we do have a bit of an advert for the Keeper rulebook. And as it said, Doors to Darkness is the suggested set of adventures. We have some handouts. These are all nicely done. The artwork is really nice. My only sort of criticism, and maybe you can kind of see because of the light, is that the paper that these are printed on has that glossy finish to it. And that being the case, they feel modern day. They don't feel 1920s, 1930s. And that's a shame, because it would be great if this was some kind of untreated matte paper. It would add to the feel, the role playing as you hand it out to your players, and for them to go, oh yes, this is like paper, this is real pages from the time. Whereas these do feel as if they are processed pages from the modern day looking back. Of course, it's going to be down to cost of production, isn't it? And as we already pointed out, the price point on this starter set is incredibly competitive. It's very, very cost effective. So it's a shame, but I totally understand why. We won't go through too many. We don't want to ruin anything. I want to keep them all in order, because I'm going to be going through this soon. So there you go. That basically is the starter set. And there's quite a lot of handouts there. Nice variety. Different maps. Really nicely done. So there we go. That is the Call of Cthulhu starter set. All you need to enjoy horror role-playing. Yes, we will, in a few weeks' time, create our own characters live on the channel. But we're going to be continuing our exploration of Call of Cthulhu with one of their most recent releases. We are going to be taking a look at No Time to Scream, which are 3 short play scenarios, giving us 3 evenings of nightmare. These are designed for brand new players and novice keepers. So this is going to be a perfect follow-on. We've just learned how to play using the starter set, and now we're going to explore some of the possible scenarios that our investigators may have to face. So that is going to start on Tuesday evening from 7 o'clock. And then on Thursday, we've got a bit of a creative stream. Thursday, of course, is Halloween night. And so I have found something suitable for us to enjoy. So that is going to be Thursdays. You'll have to tune in on Tuesday to find out what that's going to be. So, again, our thanks to Chaosium Inc. for providing tonight's Call of Cthulhu starter set. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please do like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. All helps the channel. and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you again next week. Roger, yes, we have something spooky for Thursday. Yes, something spooky and creative. I think I've been kind of sitting on it for a good few months, just waiting for October. So yes, I'm looking forward to it. To give you a bit of a clue, it's another opportunity for me to get my pens out. So I am looking forward to it. And this sounds like a great starter set, one of the best you've seen. I totally agree. Yes, I think you will find it very reasonably priced over in the US as it is here in the UK. I think there's a lot of material within it. So yeah, I think you would enjoy it. And it will be a nice sort of jumping off point to learn all about H.P. Lovecraft and the Cthulhu mythos. Right. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week. But until then, bye for now.